Welcome to Explore This. I'm Kinga Phillips, and I have my partner in crime, Justin Walter, with me today. And we are going to be talking about travel, meaning that now, kind of post-COVID, everything's starting to open back up. Case in point, Tahiti, one of our favorite destinations, just opened back up May 1st. But one thing I wanted to talk to you about before we get into travel post-COVID-ish is, Justin, I have been watching your social media, and obviously we talk a lot. You, my friend, have traveled a lot in the last year. Am I right?
Look at this sick pad.
I did. In the last year and a half during the pandemic, it was one of my busiest travel years to date with work, which is actually surprising. I flew on over 40 flights. I stayed in over 40 hotels. And I share that because I didn't get COVID. So I want people to realize when I share that info is there's a way to travel safely during the pandemic. And there's a way to, do it where if you're not vaccinated yet, we encourage vaccination, you can still travel in a safe manner by testing and social distancing and wearing masks.
So tell me about that travel and tell me what you did to protect yourself while traveling.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of basic principles. It's wearing a mask everywhere you go, from getting to the airport to on the plane, adhering to social distancing as much as possible, washing hands as much as possible, getting tested before trips, getting tested after trips, and just being logical and smart. That's kind of basically it. And all the travel I did, like I said, I didn't get COVID. I'm fully vaccinated now, which is awesome, such a great feeling. And obviously the US is moving forward with vaccinations at a fast pace, but around the world, that's not the case. So we're still going to be living with this. And when it comes to travel, we have to adhere to still being a safe and responsible traveler.
I think that's such a good point, Justin, that when we say it's post-COVID travel, it's not really post-COVID travel because you just said it. We're going to be dealing with this for quite some time in the future. And the interesting thing when you do travel is one of the first things you need to do is go online and look at requirements for different countries, and different countries handle everything differently. So with all of your travel, all of your experiences, I'm sure you saw countries that were doing it well, maybe less so, but let's talk about the ones that were doing it really well, you felt.
Yeah, the number one country that I visited, I went to European countries, I've been to the Caribbean countries, I've been in the United States. Tahiti was at the top of my list as they handled the COVID crisis for incoming travelers in such an incredible, organized, efficient way. Like you said earlier, Tahiti has reopened as of May 1st to US travelers for tourism, which is incredible because there's over 100 islands, 5 archipelagos, and it is island paradise to the max. One of the most beautiful places I had the pleasure of going to at the end of 2020 and at the start of 2021. So I'm so excited that Tahiti has reopened its borders for US travelers.
So talk to me about Tahiti. What are they doing right?
So the thing now that a lot of countries are probably going to go this direction is you have to be vaccinated to get in. And if you're not vaccinated, you'll have to do a quarantine period. In Tahiti, if you're vaccinated and show proof of vaccination, you're good. If you're not, you have to quarantine on the Tahiti main island in French Polynesia for 10 days. So even I know cruise ships are coming back where you have to show proof of vaccination. I think that's going to be a trend in the travel world where vaccines are going to be the passport to getting into countries or to travel experiences. So, things change all the time with requirements going into countries. Definitely check if you're going to go to Tahiti, what's the requirement at that time. And currently it is, you need to show proof of vaccination. And then once you have that, there is another, layer of steps before actually getting on the plane and getting on your flight.
Well, that's so interesting. And it's also, it seems maybe a little bit overwhelming when you think about all the things you have to do. But at the end of the day, it's a good thing. I personally would rather be going to a country that's taking all the steps.
It's such a good thing. When I went to Tahiti at the start of 2021, I felt so incredibly safe. I wasn't vaccinated at that time. Most people weren't, but I felt incredibly safe. I had to fill out forms before going that showed my entire itinerary. So if anything happened, there was contact tracing. They could get in touch with me. You had to take a PCR test, RT-PCR test 3 days before getting on the flight to show negative results, wear a mask the entire flight. Upon arrival in Tahiti, they are now doing antigen tests upon arrival. They also give you a test kit to then take 4 days after you're there. So again, another round of testing while you're there to show that you're negative. And you have to also have insurance, which is about, $40 travel insurance you can get on any website, that if something did happen where you contracted COVID while you were in the country, you're covered while you're there. So every step of the way, Tahiti has done an incredible job on making sure you feel very responsible while you're in country, before, during, and after coming back to the United States. Now you have to get tested at the airport to come back in the United States, which all of these protocols, all of these regulations, they allow it to make sure that this vacation is a safe, fun, and hopefully stress-free vacation. And like you said, I would rather go to a country that's taking all of these precautions versus one that isn't.
Well, and I have to back you up on that because I was also in Tahiti in 2020. It's incredible. And I also felt really, really safe with all the protocols that they had in place. So I applaud Tahiti for doing it right. Now, Justin, what tips do you have for people who want to travel right now? What should they be on the lookout for? What research should they do?
First thing is, depending on the location, whether it's domestic or international, obviously international, you need to go online and look at the most up-to-date rules and regulations for what is going on in that country, checking whether, what their COVID crisis is and their issue. Are they even allowing people with United States passports to get into that country? And if so, make your checklist of what you need to do to enter. It is, like you said, it could feel overwhelming, but from experience, let me tell you, it is so worth it, going and bringing that travel energy and adventure back into your life if you want to do it. So I think that is the number one thing. And just be prepared and smart. Even when you're in country, even though I'm vaccinated, I'll be wearing a mask on airplanes. I'm gladly going to be wearing my mask. You have to on airplanes, but when it's not required, I'll still be wearing a mask just so other people feel comfortable. And just looking at travel as a global citizen experience where you're really prioritizing safety, responsibility, and respect. I think that is the number one thing that in all of my travels over the last year, simple things as wearing your mask properly at the airport. It's about respect for yourself and for other people you're around. So that would be my number one tip.
I think that is so well said. And one thing I would add is a lot of countries, like you said, are requiring the insurance.
Yes.
And I would recommend getting that, even if it's not required, because on the off chance that you were to contract COVID and you have to stay in a country for 14 to 21 days, that's a lot of money. So that's I think it's a really smart thing to have.
And there's a lot of companies that it honestly, when I went to Tahiti for 10 days, it cost me $47 to have that insurance. That is not a minimal price to pay, that if something would have happened, you don't want to have to suffer the costs of medical bills in a foreign country that you don't have insurance for.
I totally agree. Well, Justin, thank you so much. One final question. Where is the next destination?
Next, I'm headed to the Caribbean. I'm so excited. And, wearing these tropical shirts, I'm ready to get back to the islands and the tropics.
I love that. Justin, thank you so much. Safe travels.
Thank you.